Joey Ellis from Impact 89 FM, Michigan State's student radio station, good friend of mine in the show, joins us here to talk about Michigan State and college football in general. How you doing again, Mr. Ellis?
I'm doing great again. How are you doing?
Not bad. All right, let's start again with Tyler O'Connor, the quarterback. Michigan State lost 24-21 in overtime in Bloomington against Indiana. Some people, a lot of fans are clamoring to see maybe a little shakeup. Do you think anything like that could happen this week?
I mean, I wouldn't stand by that. I mean, O'Connor, he didn't look horrible stat-wise, 21-35, 265, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But he also did miss big throws here and there on crucial drives. Also, a bunch of his receivers had some pretty big drops that you just can't afford late in the game.
All right, and moving on to the offensive line, O'Connor got sacked twice. Overall, decent game on the ground. They ran 41 times for 175 yards as a team. That's 4.3 average per rush. How do you assess the offensive line?
The O-line wasn't horrible. It also definitely hurt losing lineman Brian Allen late in that game, in addition to several other injuries they sustained throughout that game. But yeah, they were still. I mean, weren't horrible on the ground. Definitely could have protected a bit better and really opened up the run a bit more.
Yeah, then 2 fumbles lost again. Turnovers kind of plaguing the team like they did against Wisconsin last week. It just seems like sloppy play led to the 2 straight losses to open the season. You know, how D'Antonio talked about that, or what are they going to do to clean that up?
Yeah, he referred to that 2 weeks ago with Wisconsin as well. Turnovers and like that L.J. Scott fumble that really took the air out of that game, and then turnovers here when you think you're sustaining a drive and you're going to punch it in and either get a bad penalty that sets you back or a fumble that results in no point. So he said they definitely have to be a lot cleaner with the ball and get back to just the fundamentals of the game.
Yeah, speaking of fundamentals, on defense, they kind of not too bad of a game, but really didn't make too many big plays. Kind of uncharacteristically, didn't record a sack against Indiana, who doesn't have the most talented offensive line. Pass defense got torched a little bit for 275 yards. Just kind of wasn't able to get off the field. And Indiana did a great job on third down. Michigan State couldn't stop them on third down. They converted 9 out of their 16 third downs. Looking at the defense, how do you assess the way they played, not really making too many big plays?
I mean, they really kept Indiana off the scoreboard really until that third drive of that second half.
Yeah.
Really, after Indiana started with 7 or 8 0-point possessions. And really, I think the defense just absolutely fell apart after Indiana's first score, and then right after that, they responded 2 more quick scores. They were pretty sloppy in that second half. The D collected themselves a bit heading into overtime, forcing Indiana for field goal tries, also mixed in between a penalty, but at the end of the day, they just did not play well enough, didn't make the plays they needed to on D.
Yeah, big mistake on the roughing the snapper on that field goal, which gave Indiana an easier try. Now looking ahead, they play BYU this week, 2-2 record for Michigan State. Going back home to play BYU. BYU, they played a couple teams close so far. I think Taysom Hill, their quarterback's going to pose some problems for Michigan State's defense. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, Taysom Hill, he's definitely putting up some big numbers this year. He's got 60% of his passes, just over 1,000 yards already. He does have 6 interceptions, so we'll see if the secondary for MSU will play aggressive on the receivers and see if they can force them into turnovers. But their ground game's been pretty steady, which we'll see how MSU's front line does against that. Jamal Williams leads the way with the Cougars, 705 yards. He's got 8 touchdowns. So he could be a handful in the backfield as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another close game. Now let's talk about college football in general. You're an expert in those fields. Looking at the top 10, we got Alabama at number 1 again, Ohio State at 2, and then of course Clemson and Louisville played in that big game. Clemson moves up to 3, Michigan at 4. Washington beat Stanford, destroyed them on Friday night. Talk about the Clemson and Louisville matchup and who got the better of who in terms of Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson.
I mean, that game really lived up to all the hype that they had going into that game. I mean, I'd say both quarterbacks really, both Heisman candidates played pretty Heisman-worthy games, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Louisville, after really playing a so-so first half, came back from down 18 at the half, really looked in control of that game, or at least like they could pull it out, and then Clemson kind of grabbed the reins again, got it back, and we saw late in that fourth quarter regain the lead with 3:18. And then also when Louisville, they're charging late on that last drive, they get the 4th and 7, and then with a big penalty sets them back 5 more yards, and then we see them coming up just short of those 6 there, right inside the 10. But it was a really good game. Really, both quarterbacks played really well. I think both of them I think the ACC, they could find a way to send both of those teams to the playoffs, depending on how the field works out.
Yeah, definitely. Louisville's got the big matchup against Houston later in the season as well. Houston's at number 6. Washington and Stanford played. That was another big matchup. That was Friday night. Washington just destroyed Stanford. I didn't think Washington was going to be as legit as Stanford this year, but definitely proved me wrong. What did you think about that game?
Yeah, Washington really just came out there and played as well as a game as he could. And Stanford definitely knew that at the half they just didn't play good ball. I mean, they gave credit to Washington. That defensive line is incredibly fast. They stacked, got to Ryan Burns 6 times, and then backup Keller Christ also got brought down twice. But defensive line and their linebackers, they're quick, and they'll get right up to you. And, I mean, the offense, Jake Browning with 3 touchdowns, 15 of 21, he had 200 yards through the air. I mean, they've got a nice balanced attack, and I really like this team out of the Pac-12.
Yeah, they're looking good. And then let's talk about the Big Ten. They got 2 teams in the top 4, Ohio State, Michigan. Then Wisconsin and Nebraska are kind of in there at 11 and 12. Nebraska sneaking up there. Talk about how good the Big Ten is this year and how you think it's gonna play out. You got Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, 2 top 5 teams right there. It's gonna be. I think the Big Ten East will definitely come down to either Michigan or Ohio State. We'll see. Both have big games in East Lansing. Those will still be tough matchups, but I expect to see the winner of the Big Ten East come out of that Michigan-Ohio game in Columbus the last weekend of the schedule. Yeah, looks like it's going to come down to that one. Then I think Nebraska and Wisconsin are really going to battle it out.
Nebraska's definitely a dark horse. It should be like Tommy Armstrong's been there for 20 years. He's playing a heck of a season so far.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, both sides of the Big Ten. And then you were at the Western Michigan against Central Michigan game up in Mount Pleasant over the weekend.
Yes,
First
sir.
question, are you still alive? And also, how did Western Michigan look kind of dismantling their rival up there?
Oh, boy. That stadium got pretty empty pretty quick. I don't think anybody up there was expecting that one-sided of a matchup. Western, they played a very good game. They are definitely a good team. Finally being ranked first time in school history, making the top 25. So PJ Fleck's got not a bad team he's got going there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a big-name job here in the next couple of years.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Joey Ellis from Impact 89 FM, thanks for joining us. Let's do it again soon, sir.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks.